Here we go, folks.
Got me feeling nice.
Got me feeling nicey today on QB Grip Live. Oh, yeah. Ho! Oh, got me a little John Gruden shout out. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex. I am the founder of QB Grip. I'm also the founder of Hostage Tape. As you can see, hostage tape here on my nose, behind us. I mean, that's the big thing. That's what makes this whole party go round. Is that, for sure. And I'm sure you guys have seen it all over the web. You've seen it everywhere. But the, Brock Purdy going to play on Sunday? I don't know. I haven't actually been up to speed with what's going on with some of the guys around. But I tell you what, it's this time of the year that's got me feeling nicey, folks. Because I tell you what, I coach for my son's freshman team this year for Minnetonka High School. Oh, you use hostage tape with your CPAP? Beautiful. Love it. Hey, we've got our Black Friday deals. Go to hostagetape.com. We've got 50% off our bundles right now. Go get them before they sell out. They're going to sell out. In fact, they've already started to sell out. We've had to replace it with another bundle, okay? But it's this time of the year that's got me feeling nicey, folks, because I coached for my son's freshman team, and the varsity is playing in the state championship tonight, and that's got me feeling nicey, folks, because they're gonna shred it, baby, and be the best team in the state of Minnesota. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. We are talking all things QB Grips here. Okay. So here, as people are joining and you're watching, pop into the chat. Tell me what quarterback grip you want to see. I'll do my best to remember who it is. If I don't remember, I've got my database here. You can go to qbgrip.com. We've got our blog where we document all the quarterback grips and we group them. And let me explain the quarterback grip. We've codified it with a couple of numbers. Okay. So QB grip. Okay. This is what we did. So the foundation of the grip comes down to where the ring finger is, number one. Okay. So the first number on our QB grip is where's the ring finger? Is it on the first lace, the second lace, the third lace? Okay. That's the first number. The second number is where is the pinky? Is it third lace, fourth lace, fifth, sixth? And then the third number is how many fingers are over the laces. And then we come up with a QB grip number. And the most common grip number in the NFL is a 251 grip. Okay? A 251 grip. So somebody was asking about Russell Wilson. Did he throw in the snow? That was a phenomenal. I was watching that game last night. It's so cool to watch a snow game like that when the snow's coming down, because I tell you, it's even crazier to play in them. Because the thing about playing in a game like that as a quarterback is a couple of things. One is anytime there's elements there's weather elements that come into the game, you're always thinking, how is it going to affect how you play? And is it going to affect the ball? Is it going to affect your grip? Is the ball going to get wet? What's that going to be like? Do I need to put on a glove? Okay. Is my hand going to be warm? Is it going to be cold? All those elements start to add into it. And secondly is you actually have an advantage on the offense. Okay. And here's why. when you're playing on shitty conditions like that, and you've got snow on the field, you've got ice on the field, it's wet, the defense is reacting to what we do as an offense. So because they're reacting, we have the advantage in crappy conditions because they don't know where we're going. They don't know what we're doing. And so playing in the snow like that can be really fun. Your offensive linemen always love it. They're like pigs in slop when they're in snow and rain and stuff like that. They love just getting dirty and having fun in the trenches. But Russell Wilson, okay. Let me just confirm. Now, Russ has got a 241, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So Russ has got some huge hands. He's got some pretty big hands. He's got 10.25-inch hands. And when they measure hand size in quarterbacks, they're measuring from the thumb to the pinky here. And so Russ is a 10.25. The average NFL quarterback has got at least a 10-inch span on his hand. And mine is 9.75. Okay. And I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'11". Russ is 5'11", but that dude's got some mitts on him. Okay. In fact, I think the biggest hands in NFL history might be Jim Druckenmiller. Jim Druckenmiller, I believe, had over 11-inch hands. Insane. Okay. Now, Russ Wilson he's got what we call a 241. Okay. 241 means ring finger is on the second lace. Okay. In fact, he puts his ring finger on the raised second lace. There's a couple of variations a quarterback might do. He might go on the actual second lace or on the raised second lace. So he's got it on that raised second lace. And then his pinky is on the fourth lace. And then he raises his middle finger up just a little bit here. And then he's got his his index finger up near the top. And that is Russ Wilson's 241 grip right there. And now a guy like Russ, what makes him so interesting is you look at him and you think, a guy like that is always going to be measured for how short he is. In fact, coming out of the draft, people thought, well, he's too short. He can't ever do anything. And a lot of us short quarterbacks, that happens to us. We get the short end of the stick, right? People just don't think we can perform. But here's the thing about a guy like Russ. I want you to think about his hand size and how much of an advantage that actually gives him. And I would actually, it's a theory that I have that someday we're going to take all this data and we'll prove it. But hand size is actually correlated to success. Okay. Now, yes, there's outliers. Jim Druckenmiller, we just talked about. That dude never did anything. He flamed out of the NFL faster than you can count to 3. And he had some of the biggest hands. Okay. Yes, there's obviously those guys. But a guy like Russ, because his hands are so big, this is what I want you to think about. Because his hands are so big, playing in any adverse conditions, like last night in the snow, means he can have control of the football throughout his motion and his release better. So the bigger his hands are, the better control he's got of the ball, regardless of the rain, the snow, the cold, the heat, the wetness, all of it. Okay? That's way more important than how tall or short that guy is. So that's why you look at guys like him that are his size. Like, okay, Drew Brees is another one. Drew Brees, let me look him up real quick. Yeah. So Drew Drew had 10 and a quarter inch hands too. Drew had almost as big a hands as Russ did. And Drew's 5'11", right? He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he's a guy too that I played against him when I was at the Minnesota, and I played against Drew when he was at Purdue. And like he and I were the same size. But he's got big hands, man. And so that, to me, that is a much higher translation of success for a quarterback. It's much more important than if he's 6'3", in my opinion. So if you're looking at two guys and they're both great quarterbacks, I would much rather have a guy that's got bigger hands than worrying about how tall he is. Now, here's a couple of curveballs to that, okay? Let's look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and Goff, okay? Burrow and Goff. Those are two examples of guys who defy that, all right? They're both 6'3" guys, 6'4", okay? But they both have 9-inch hands. They both have really small hands. Some of the smaller hands in the league. Okay. And so it's interesting. There's not many of those guys, though. Not many of those guys like that are big, tall guys with really small hands. You just don't usually see it. But that's my theory. You're going to see most of all the shorter quarterbacks, and it's probably more this. If you look across history and you look at all the shorter quarterbacks, the reason all of the shorter quarterbacks were able to compete and make up for their deficiency in height was because they had big hands and they could control the football and deliver it how they needed to in all the adverse conditions. That's probably a better way to say it. Okay? All right. Now, again, everybody that's watching, give me grips. Give me a grip of somebody that you want to see, and I'll show it to you. So I always love starting off with this one. I'm going to give you the most crazy grip in NFL history to start with. And while I do this, put a name in the chat that you want me to see, or you want me to do. So Terry Bradshaw, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, had probably the most unique, crazy grip of all time. Okay? So Terry had his finger on the first lace. He was like this. But now, his index finger was all the way on the tip, the point of the ball. So he had basically a 141 grip with his index finger on the tip. I don't know how the hell he threw it. If I went outside right now and threw it like this, it'd look like I'm throwing kickoffs, right? Ball would just go end over end. I don't get it. I don't know how he did it. He must have had he was before the time of the draft when they started measuring hands. I have to look this up and find it. But there was a period in the 90s. It was either the late 90s or the early 2000s where they finally started measuring the hand grips. And so everybody prior to that, we don't know how big their hands were. We don't know how big Terry Bradshaw's hands were. But they had to have been huge if he was able to grip the Duke and put his finger on the tip and feel comfortable enough to throw it that way. That's just insane. Okay. All right, so we got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, the GOAT. I love Tom Brady. Okay. So Tom Brady, he had what we call he actually had two versions of his grip. There was a period in his career where he had a 142, and then there was another period in his career where he had a 152. Okay. So his ring finger's on the first lace. Now his pinky, there was a period of his career where he was on the fourth lace, and then a period of his career where he was down on the fifth lace. I don't know why. I don't know if it had to do, he evolved his mechanics throughout his career. Like early in his career, he had his arm would come out right here. And then later in his career, right, it was keeping his left arm still and close to him. So there may have been an adjustment with his grip because of the adjustments to his mechanics, I suspect. But 141 or 142, excuse me, and a 152. And this was Tom Brady. Tom Brady's grip right there. And Tom didn't have very big hands either. Tom's hand size, I'm pretty sure was 9 and 9.25. For a guy as big as he is, Tom was 9.38. So not very big hands for the GOAT. Again, that kind of defies what we talked about earlier, right? But again, I think it comes down to when you're that big, when you're as tall as Tom Brady is, you can get by and get around the deficiency of having maybe not huge hands just because you're so big and you're so tall. Whereas it's the short guys that they have such a massive deficiency in height that they have to make up for it in other areas. And having bigger hands is one of those things that really, truly helps those guys. Okay, Tua. Now, Tua, he's got one of the other most interesting grips in NFL history. Okay. Here's why. So, remember, we talk about ring finger. The most common grips in the NFL that we see are ring finger on the second lace. That's the most common placement. And then the second most common placement of the ring finger is then on the first lace. Okay? But Tua does something crazy. His ring finger isn't on the first. It's not on the second. But he goes all the way down on the third lace. Okay? There's not that many guys in NFL history that grip the ring finger on the third lace. Now, if my memory helps me here, Brett Favre is the most obvious. Brett had the third lace, ton of span on his fingers, gripped it pretty much like that. Okay, that was Brett. We have Marcus Mariota. He's a third lacer. We've got Phillip Rivers was a third lace ring finger guy, and then there's one other guy I can't think of. I keep forgetting his name. He played at Texas. He was with the Cardinals. I can't think of his name. Anyways, he's the other guy I can't think of. Okay, but Tua's got ring finger on the third lace. His middle finger, he's borderline on top of the first lace. I can't tell. I'd love to actually talk to him and see his grip in person. I can't tell if it's just above it or if it's on top of it right there like that. And then he's got his pinky literally all the way down here like that. So this is Tua right here. And it feels so low, so in the middle of the ball. It feels like his hand's literally in the middle of the ball, and I don't know how he does it. It feels so strange compared to, if you hold the ball down there and then you're a guy who's got like your finger on the first lace. It's wild. Here's another crazy one that I actually didn't realize. So Rich Gannon, he's actually a local here in Minnesota. I see him in the gym every once in a while. It's funny, like Rich Gannon's one of those guys where NFL legend, but he's not a guy that most people would see out and go, oh my God, it's Rich Gannon. But a guy like me who knows NFL history sees him and is like, hey, it's Rich Gannon. And so every time I see him, I'll say hi and give him a fist bump. And by this point, he knows who I am. It's kind of hard not to know who I am when you see me in hostage tape gear all the time. So, but okay, so Rich Gannon, what he does, which is interesting. I don't know what Rich's hand size is. I think again he was before he went through the draft before they started measuring hand size, but he actually. So his ring finger isn't on the first lace. It's actually above the first lace. And so his top three fingers, they're on top of the ball like this. And then I think he actually puts his ring finger over the laces. I think he's got it over the third lace. But this is how Rich Gannon throws it. So he's got his hand completely on top above the first lace, which is wild. It's absolutely wild that you have your hand that high on the ball. Again, it's almost similar to Bradshaw. And if I tried to go out and throw the ball like this, it would look like I'm throwing kickoffs, right? Because I just don't feel like I can actually get a good enough release on it that it would just come off all funky. It's crazy. Yeah. It's really wild. Okay. Somebody said, do you know who holds it the lowest? Yeah, so I just told you Tua. So Tua Tagovailoa holds it the lowest. He's all the way down on the third lace here. So again, so let's show it side by side here. Okay. So we got Tua's here. And then Rich Gannon was all the way up here. I mean, look at that. Look how crazy that is to go from here to here. It's wild. Crazy. And again, it just goes to show you that throwing a football, a lot of times it's just about what feels comfortable. In most of us quarterbacks, when we're young, we develop our grip in like one of two ways. One is just picking the ball up. We pick a ball up, and then however it feels comfortable in our hand, we start throwing it that way. Or we look at a guy on TV or in Sports Illustrated growing up, and that's how we start to do it. And so my idol as a kid was Joe Montana. And so I picked up a ball and I started to grip it just like Joe did. And Joe grips it like this. He's got his ring finger on the second lace. His pinky's down on the right around the fifth, sixth lace here. And just like that. And so that's essentially how I gripped it growing up. I didn't have my index finger as high. I actually had my index finger a lot lower down here. But it was very Montana-esque. Whereas a guy like Phillip Rivers, he's a great example of when he was a kid, he just picked up the ball and however it was comfortable. And so Phillip, he was a third lace guy and gripped it essentially like this. Okay. He just picked up the ball however comfortable it was. And then because he couldn't hold the ball in his hand, he had to lay it in his hand. And then he started throwing it like this and then developed that super wonky, robotic 3/4 put motion that he had. And that's why he developed his mechanics that way. It was because he just picked it up and held it how it was comfortable and just threw it the only way he could. Okay, somebody said, what about Jameis Winston? Okay, I think, let me look it up. I've got my database here. Yeah, so Jameis, okay. Jameis, he holds it. He's got decent. He's got actually not huge hands. He's got 9.38 hands. Not ridiculously huge hands. Like they're okay. But he's got a 251 grip, which is the most common grip in the NFL, which means you've got your ring finger on the second lace, your pinky down around the fifth lace, and then right there. That's how Jameis Winston holds it. Right there. Which is the most common grip. This is how similar to how Josh Allen throws it. It's similar to how Justin Herbert throws it. Justin actually moves his middle finger up just a little bit more. Right? But most of these guys are in the NFL are throwing it like this. Okay, somebody said lefties, am I right? I don't know what that means. Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow's baseball style warmed up always amused me. Look, here's a hot take. Tim Tebow sucked as a quarterback. He did. Tim Tebow was a guy who, look, I respect the dude because the dude balled out, right? No doubt. The dude was a phenomenal athlete. Phenomenal athlete. But as an actual quarterback, he wasn't. And that's why when he got into the NFL, he struggled and he wasn't able to really develop into a top-tier NFL quarterback because he just wasn't a quarterback. He was an athlete playing quarterback, a phenomenal athlete. And he was a great leader. He was great in so many things. And at the college level, you can get away with that. Because at the college level, you've got such a disparity in talent. You've got guys who they're 30, 40, 50% better in talent than some of these other guys that you might play on the same team or play against. But then when you get to the NFL level, that doesn't exist. You might just be a percent better than the guy next to you. Everybody is as good as you, if not better. And so then what separates you is intangible things. Your ability to process information, your ability to be prepared. That's why like a guy like Tom Brady completely defies what makes a great quarterback. It's the intangibles that you can't really measure with him. He doesn't go out onto the field. Tom Brady was not a better athlete than Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was light years a better athlete than Tom Brady was. But Tom had all of these intangibles about being a better quarterback in the NFL than Tim did. Okay. And so that's the difference. Tom's going to go out and beat you because he's more prepared. He understands the game. He knows how to make decisions. And he knows how to get it done. And that wasn't Tim's game. All right, somebody said, yes, as a Florida State fan, I believe Jameis was better than Tim in their prime. Oh, totally. Jameis Winston, it's unfortunate that he's kind of gotten a little crazy, I think. But Jameis Winston was a phenomenal quarterback. He was a stud. He was really, really good in his prime in Florida State. And even early on in his career in the NFL at Tampa Bay, that dude could ball. He was good. Unfortunately, sometimes if you can't maintain a level of success or a level of ability, or sometimes coaching changes, sometimes one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? Sometimes new coaches come in and they just don't like you. Like maybe you're not so good that the coach loves you no matter what, and he's going to make you fit into his system. Because like the reality is, in this NFL, really in any NFL team, every NFL team has a system. And there's very few quarterbacks that fit into every system. It can play in any system. There's very few of those guys. There's very few offensive coordinators that go into a team and could take any quarterback and fit them into the system that they run. Very rare. Okay. Quite often, you have to tailor, at the NFL level, you have to tailor your system around your quarterback and what he does well. And then what players you have, right? So a great offensive coordinator does that. Now, to start with, a great general manager is going to get all the best players that they need for their system that they run, number one. And then number two, as an offensive coordinator, once you built your team around that quarterback, then it's being able to take what he does best and fit within the system and the players you put around him. Okay? Okay, somebody said, who do you think is the best quarterback in college football and the NFL right now as we speak? Oh, boy. I got to be honest. I don't watch a ton of college football. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't like college football. Is that a hot take? I mean, it's probably a hot take, but I don't like watching the NFL. I don't like watching college football. I like watching the NFL. That's just me. And I think the explosion of NIL has made it even worse. I can't stand like that whole story of the UNLV quarterback. Like, I think it's just a classic tale of what's wrong with college football and NIL right now. But the whole NIL and these egos of these kids and just everything, it's like, I don't like any of it. College football, and again, this is a hot take, and I'm an old school, more traditional coach and player, but these players, college football is about playing football. It's not about money. It shouldn't be, because these guys aren't men yet. They haven't earned it. And in my view, once you make the transition from college to the NFL, then you've earned your opportunity to now make money and make a name for yourself at the pro level. I think college football is a step you have to go through and a step you have to take. You got to earn it. And it shouldn't be about money. It should be about playing college football. It should be about getting your degree, right? Going through those steps. But that's me being old school. Times are changing. I get it. Now, best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, I can answer that. I think the best quarterbacks, I'll say quarterbacks in the NFL are, Pat Mahomes is, damn, that kid's good. The thing about a guy like Pat is he makes it look so easy. And when you got a guy out there that makes it look that easy, you almost take it for granted how good he is. Because remember, you're going out there on the NFL field and you're playing with the best players in the world. They're all the best players in the world. And when you make it look easy, as a fan, you take it for granted, not understanding how good that guy is to make it look that easy. He's good. I don't particularly like maybe his style, some of the style that he plays. I'm much more of a, West Coast, older school style quarterback. So, but yeah, him and then Justin Herbert, phenomenal. He's a phenomenal talent. Even Josh Allen is great. And then, let's see, who else? Look, Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he's old, but goddamn, he still can sling it, man. He's so good in so many ways. He just, whatever's going on there in New York, I don't know. There's always a lot more going on behind the scenes than we realize, and it's not that easy, man. Going out there and playing, there's so many variables that you have to deal with on and off the field that we don't always know about. So, do the Chiefs get saved by the refs in the first 4 games? I mean, like, the Chiefs are definitely the new Patriots. They're that new team. And yeah, they're going to get calls go their way because they are who they are. It just is what it is. People are going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're just that good. So, all right. Any final grips here that people want to see? Bo Nix. I don't have Bo Nix. I don't have the new guys yet. There's a lot of these rookies that I haven't done yet. But here, let me do this. Let me look him up real quick. I don't have Bo Nix in our database yet. But I can look up a picture real quick and I can tell you. Okay. So Bo, hold on. All right, Bo. Oh, Bo's a 252 guy. Okay, Bo's got a very traditional grip. In fact, it's funny you mentioned Peyton Manning. Bo and Peyton have very similar grips. So from what I'm looking at, I haven't actually profiled Bo Nix's grip yet, but just from the quick look at his grip, Bo's got a 252 grip, which means his ring finger is on the second lace, and then his pinky is over the 5th lace here, and then he's got 2 fingers over the laces. And so this is Bo's grip right here, which ironically, this is also Peyton Manning's grip right here. Very, very similar. What are the odds, huh? There you go. And then Joe Montana, who was my idol growing up. Joe he had his pinky a little bit farther down. He was borderline a 250, 262, 252er right there. Okay, somebody said, so Mahomes over Brady. I think Mahomes shouldn't be compared yet to Brady. Yeah, you can't compare the two. Tom Brady is the GOAT. You can't put Mahomes into that category yet. But he's certainly on his way. That's for sure. And there's no reason that if he just continues to do what he's doing, he'll be the best ever. So, all right, folks. Peace out. Get your Black Friday bundles.